have that tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can put stuff out there, bypass all the gates that traditional people had to deal with. I always think back to like an animator my age in the 90s, right? Who wishes not only do they have the technology to make stuff, I can make a cartoon on my laptop. Like that's absolutely insane. You know what I mean? So not only do we have that, but there's a place to put it after you're done and people can see it. Like, so I'm always thinking about like thinking in perspective, the historical context of where we're living in creatively and trying to capitalize on that. So YouTube was a natural outlet for me. But of course, it's all about figuring out after that, how do we get the eyeballs on it once it's there? That's the real hard part. Anyone these days can make stuff, but getting the eyeballs is, as I'm sure you're aware, that's the real skill, right? That's the marketing part is the real skill. So not only animating, but I also took some, watched a whole lot of Gary Vee, to be honest. Gary Vaynerchuk, I feel like he should be the producer of the Weaklings because he really taught me social media and marketing and getting your stuff out there in a significant way.
So with that, what is your, I guess, your social media strategy around this, and how is that being tied into your funding of more episodes?
So the Weaklings is all based on, the real deal is getting the kids to buy the merch, right? Buy the posters, buy the t-shirts, hopefully we can do toys pretty soon, but that's what the real driving factor is. And what's great about it is that as the machine builds, the content we're producing can be repackaged in different ways to continue to get those views, to continue to get those impressions that will hopefully funnel back to getting to the store, right? So the basic thing is we're creating characters that kids love so that they want to have that character represent them through whatever merch we offer, right? To make those characters likable, we have to put them in fun stories. So the episodes are just fun stories that you can like with SpongeBob, right? You sit down with him, you're familiar with him, you know Bart Simpson, you want to hang out with Bart Simpson, let's get a t-shirt with Bart Simpson on it because he represents me, right?
Right.
That's basically what it boils down to. So we spend a lot making the content, but the way it's distributed makes it so that it's not really as expensive as people think it is. Because one episode can be, let's say we have a 10-minute episode, right? We can cut it up to minute-long segments and put it on YouTube in different ways, compilations, stuff like that. That just keeps the fans eager for more and watching more as we make more. And kids are like watching the same stuff over and over again, like, which is kind of funny. But kids will, because we have a young audience, we can get away with a lot of stuff that you can't necessarily get away with a more, older, mature audience. Because kids will watch stuff over and over again, which is great. And we're making great stuff, and they're liking it. So we're trying to sell some merch, honestly. That's what it boils down to. Yeah. And tell fun stories.
Yeah, I like that. So
does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because I was curious on with that. I think isn't that like what the Strong Bad team ultimately ended up doing too, is they funneled their weird into just buying a bunch of merchandise.
Yes. We're building up to that. That's what we're trying to do.
So where do your ideas come from for the show?
For the show, the ideas come from real life, honestly. At the end of the day, the show's about 7 friends hanging out and trying to find their place in the world. So I try to find relatable stories that, kids can understand, but then make them weaklingsified, right? So for example, we have an episode called April Fool's Night where the boy characters have a sleepover and someone invites April Fool's Day, who is a character let me go back. All the characters in the show who aren't days or holidays, right? We have New Year's, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Groundhog Day, anyone. So April Fool's Day gets invited to this party, and the whole episode's about them trying not to fall asleep because they know April Fool's Day is going to prank them. So they're competing with each other to not fall asleep, right? Something that we all been asleep over before. We all know the prankster with the marker who's waiting for you to fall asleep. Why not make that April Fool's Day? You know what I mean? So stuff like that where they're relatable and fun, and also take advantage of animation as much as possible. We have another episode that's just about them trying to bust Groundhog Day out of jail because Groundhog Day's shadow framed him for a crime. So like, so we do have grounded stuff. We also have fun stuff, which takes advantage of the fact that you can have a fun shadow character who can do a lot of bad stuff, a lot of fun car chases in that one, and just have as much fun as we can. Tell these quick stories, get in, get out, make you laugh, make you feel a little bit, and then hopefully you wanna watch the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's fun.
Yeah, I was watching a couple episodes, and I definitely have to keep going into more because they are very entertaining. I wondering if you could touch a little bit about the idea of fear. So being someone who's creative, you're putting something out there that may work out, it may not, but it's a lot of your time and your energy, and as you just described, some of your stories. So how do you approach those times when you feel apprehensive about either putting out an episode or even starting this series, and how do you push past that?
I think I'm too dumb to be afraid of a lot of stuff, which is a blessing. Like looking back, a lot of my stuff, I'm like, why would I do that? Like if I knew now, if I knew then what I knew, wait, what am I trying to say? Basically, like if you go back to me entering the Nickelodeon competition, right? Like, why would I do that? But I didn't think anything of it. I submitted it and then forgot about it. With the Weaklings, I look back, I'm like, why would you, Kickstarter? That's a risk right there. Why'd you do? I don't know. I don't have. So, in hindsight, I can understand how fear would stop. But when I'm in the moment, I think that in this particular aspect of my life, like I'm a pretty cautious guy anywhere outside of what I want to create. So overcoming that, I must have done that at a young age. And I think that's probably just being confident in myself and my work, and knowing that I have a voice, and knowing that I have a story is worth telling. They always say the hardest part about writing your story is knowing you're worth the ink, right? I was like, I know I'm worth the ink. I just got to find something to read the story, is what my mindset was all this time. But so thinking about it, fear is never really, I don't get afraid until after I jump in with the sharks, I guess.
Gotcha.
Like, oh, I just swam with sharks, Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's great. So with everything that you have done and experienced so far, what would you say has been the best advice that you were ever given?
I think the best advice kind of ties into that fear stuff. The best advice I ever got seems like an insult, but it was nobody cares. Nobody cares. And for a lot of people, that is a sad statement to have, right? Like, no one cares. But for me, I interpret that as like, no one cares, so you can do what you want to do and try some things out, right? So, make your own show. No one cares. Like if it's good or bad, no one really cares. If you fail on Kickstarter, no one really cares. So you can experiment, have fun, play around with stuff. And that's, once you're in that fun, creative space, you can do whatever you want to do, right? You give yourself the freedom, the permission to not worry about other people's opinions on what you're doing. So yeah, no one cares, but also on the flip side, people want to care. So if you give them something to care about, they'll love you for it. And giving them that, your soul through art, is probably one of the most, as an artist, you're trying to feel like it's a noble thing, right? You're giving your soul, just take a look at it, guys, Hopefully we can do something like that. So I think that the fact that no one cares, the world's too big, the internet's too wide, everyone's too focused on their own stuff. Don't worry about it, whether it's through your art or stuff that happens embarrassing, in your life. It's like, hey, no one cares. That sounds cynical.
I mean, not really though. I mean, it's you got a great point there. That's like, we're all focused on our own stuff so much that, unless it's some kind of huge embarrassing failure that's coupled with something else that kind of maybe it shouldn't be, or if you were like a really famous person, that you're right. Like, it's, people may come across it and then forget about it in the next 10 minutes when something else pops up. So yeah, makes perfect sense.
Think about the social media and things celebrities go through. It's like they want to care, they act like they care, but the next day something else happens, they don't care anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the freedom you have. So
Yeah.
use that to your advantage. Try some stuff out. And then if it doesn't work, no one cares.
Right, exactly. And try something else. And then, I know. I love it. That's fantastic. So, Jabril, it's been awesome to chat with you and get to know more about your work. So thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners would like to watch your show or get in contact with you and see more about what you're working on, where is the best place they can go for all of those?
So the best place to watch the Weaklings is on YouTube. Just type in the Weaklings cartoon. You can find all of our latest episodes. We just did one with 4th of July, who was based on America's icon, Guy Fieri. So you want to check that out for sure. And we're also on TikTok. We just passed 240K fans on there, which is really exciting. And if it's still around by the time this thing airs, who they might ban it, but that's a whole different conversation.
Before I let you go, I was going to ask you about that. Thank you for bringing that up. So what happens? So with TikTok being, one of the areas that you're on, what happens if TikTok goes away? Are you just going to jump to somewhere else? Are you moving to your own platform, or what do you do?
Definitely something we haven't thought about or planned for was something that's going away. That's been our major driving force. We get about 4 million views per month on TikTok alone.
Yeah.
So that brings over to YouTube, which is really, really great. But we'll just adapt, focus on the Weaklings website. I don't have one, so I got to get that going and then capture those emails and make sure we just future-proof, algorithm-proof our future processes, right?
Yeah.
Algorithms are the anti thing, what is my saying? It's a bad guy to creativity. And I knew that, but I never really took it seriously. So now that I know that anything can go, nothing's this whole year is all about how things change, right? Like you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to try to build up and make sure that the website and stuff like that is good to go so the fans can still stay in touch and we can keep the train going.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, I'll put links to your YouTube and some other links in the show notes so people can click right through and maybe by the time this episode comes out, you'll have a website that they can also add to that.
Yes. Check us out. Watch the cartoons. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Advance Your Art podcast. If you like this episode, please go into iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button so that every single time I release a new episode, it will go directly to you without even thinking about it. If you're interested in hearing older episodes, please go to advanceyourart.com where you can find the catalog of everything I've done so far, as well as contact information and projects I'm working on. Thank you again, and have a great day.